In Parsha Shoftim, the Torah presents the following scenario. Perhaps the Bnei Yisrael, the Jewish people, will look around at the other nations among them, and they see that each nation has a king that rules the people, and the people desire to be ruled by a king. So the Torah says that we can have a king too. Of course, we know that the Jewish people, for a very long time, a long period, had a king rule over us, Shaul HaMelech, David HaMelech, Shlomo HaMelech, and the king took a very significant role in Judaism as being the leader representing the message of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The fact that we can honor and respect and revere a king in this world also contrasts that we can also revere HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who is a king as well, the Melech Malchei HaMlachim. If we can respect a physical king, how much more so can we respect a spiritual king? So that's one element which the Torah tells us is okay. If you want to have a king, that's perfectly fine. But there are certain conditions that the Torah places and says, look, if you're going to have a king, there are certain rules, and here they are. Among the rules is that a king must not be a foreign king. It has to be mikarev achecha, has to be among your brothers. An individual who is elevated and becomes the king over the people. The king has to be careful about his behavior. The king cannot bring the people back to Mitzrayim, therefore he can't have many horses because the horses come from Mitzrayim, from Egypt. And if he wants more horses, then maybe he'll bring the people back to Egypt. Torah says no, can't have a lot of horses. Also can't have many wives, because perhaps his heart will be swayed in different directions by one wife, and the other wife will be pulling at him back and forth, and perhaps it'll bring him, God forbid, to be obeyed by the Zorah, to worship idols. So the Torah says he can't have many wives. And one of the other conditions that the Torah says is that this king has to have two Torahs. Two Torahs. One Torah that will stay in his treasure chest, stay where he lives, stay in his treasure house. It'll always be there. And the second Torah has to be a Torah that he takes with him everywhere he goes. V'haisa imo v'kara bo kol yemei chayav. That Torah has to go with him, and he has to read it every single day. That means if the king had business in a foreign city that he was going to stay over for a few days, he took his Torah with him. If the king simply went over to the next town to deal with the people in the town, he took the Torah with him. If the king went on vacation somewhere, he took the Torah with him. V'haisa imo, it was with him at all times. V'karabo, but it wasn't good enough just to be with him. He had to learn it. He had to constantly have the Torah, its values and ideals on his mind to make sure that he was in the proper frame of mind. And I believe that there's a lesson to be learned from the king and his Torahs. Of course, when we are at home, we have our Torah. We have our shul, we have our place where we learn, we have the place where we send our children to yeshiva, to school. But when we're away from home, we need to take the Torah with us. The Haisa Imo, it has to be with us wherever we go. It has to be with us in the office and business. It has to be with us when we go on vacation. It has to be with us wherever it is that we might travel, just even for a day. The Torah, figuratively, the Torah in our mind, the values that we represent, and physically, the idea of having Torah accessible to us, to be able to listen to a shir on YU Torah, or to be able to take an app and open it on our smartphones and be able to learn some chumash, or to become involved in just thinking about tefillah or prayer. These are things that are so accessible to us today because of the technology that we have, that we are able to access Torah virtually anywhere. And perhaps the message of the Melech, which seems so foreign to us in our times, really is very practical for us. Because just as the king had a Torah, so too we have a Torah that we have to take with us. Many families are now going away at the end of the summer, going on vacation, and sometimes we take the approach that if we're on vacation, so we've vacationed from everything. A Jew can't think that way. We have to take the Torah with us everywhere that we go, whether we're on vacation or we're at home, whether we're away on business or we're sitting in the house with a family. We have to constantly keep Torah values on our mind and in practice, and make sure that we make time to learn Torah on our level each and every day. Thank you for listening, and have a good Shabbos.